I've staffed over 100 executive assistants for business owners over the last 12 months. Here's my entire full guide on how to hire your very first assistant. Step 1 is to source candidates. My goal is to source the top 1% of candidates globally. So instead of just hiring the very first person that comes across my desk, I'm gonna go ahead and source 100 candidates just to hire one. Where do I source them? I use Meta, I use Instagram, I use Facebook, I use LinkedIn, and I create a really good ad that speaks to that candidate. Where do they live? How much are they getting paid? What is their past experience? What are gonna be the responsibilities that they're actually responsible for? These are all important things that go into the ad. From there, when I start posting the ad, I'm gonna redirect them to a landing page that I'm going to build that's going to qualify them with a very long questionnaire. On average, I ask the average assistant anywhere between 15 to 25 questions before they actually go ahead and interview. And the reason for that is we're gonna be getting a lot of applicants. My goal is to weed them down as much as possible before I actually get to the interview stage. Step 2, the actual phone screening. Before we start interviewing them, we wanna do a phone screening. During that phone screening, I'm gonna be testing them out for their energy, for their enthusiasm, for their actual desire for the job. If I speak to someone and they're talking like this and they're very not interested, chances are I probably don't wanna hire that. So what we're doing during the phone call screening is we're doing a vibe check. We're seeing if they're actually a good candidate for us long-term. We're gonna see if there's chemistry there in terms of do they have the right fit for the role? Are they having the right mindset for this? Our goal is to weed them down. If we get 100 candidates, we wanna get them down to the top 10% or 10 out of 100. During step 3, we're now gonna get into the group interview. If we do the phone call screening correctly and we set up the landing page correctly, the 10 people that we're gonna interview are all gonna be really good candidates for the role. However, we don't wanna hire 10 people, we only wanna hire one. So now we're gonna start screening them further. During the group screening process, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up a Zoom call and we're gonna invite 10 people to actually join this call. And during this call, we're gonna start asking them further questions to identify if they're a strong fit for the role. One of my favorite questions to ask them is, where do you see yourself 5 years from now when it comes to your life and your business? If they answer anything other than trying to work for you or growing within your organization or trying to become a manager or a leader in what you're building, you can immediately tell that they have this different dream or vision and do something else. And we don't want to get people that are distracted. We want people that are going to be focused on you. We're looking for operators. We're looking for people that could really scale into your ecosystem. Step 4, if we do the group interview correctly, we get 10 candidates down, all the way down to 2 or 3. During this 2 or 3, during the final interview, now we're spending more time with them individually in the capacity to ask them more questions. Now we're really getting into their past experience. We're asking them much more specific questions on this actual role to see if they'd be a good fit. And we're really identifying what it is that they show up like to make sure if they're a good fit for the role long term. These are all very important things to look out for: how they dress, any sort of lighting that they have, the type of microphone that they're using, their demeanor, their posture. This is how they're going to act on the best way possible is during the interview. So just expect it this way. If this is their best presentation and the best version of themselves and you're not impressed, you're probably not going to be impressed on the day-to-day during the actual job. In addition to the final interview, we start screening them on specific questions to scenarios in the day-to-day. I want to know, are they going to be leveraging Go High Level correctly? Have they ever started working with Claude? Do they have any relevant experience to the industry I'm staffing for? Our goal is to really get them down to the 1 out of the 100. If they get through the entire process of the final interview, at that point, we're gonna get into step number 5. During step number 5, we're gonna hit them with an offer letter, and we're gonna make sure that this offer letter has over 10 pages of standards and expectations for what we want for that role. We're also gonna discuss compensation, we're gonna discuss hours, we're gonna discuss bonuses, we're gonna discuss holidays, sick days, paid time off, anything that has to do with them getting incentivized long-term when it comes to 6-month renewals. Whatever it is, we want to make sure that this contract is loaded so that all the expectations are made up front. And we spend a good 30 minutes to an hour reviewing that contract and that offer letter with the actual candidate. If the candidate goes ahead and accepts the offer letter and they've signed the contract, what we do is we start onboarding them during this process. During the onboarding process, our goal is to really just set the expectations for the next 6 months. We want to tell them, here's everything that's going to happen in the next 30 days. Here's what's expected of you. Here's what we expect when it comes to your internet connections. Here's what we expect when it comes to you showing up on time. We're really going to let them know that these are our standards, and if you don't go ahead and abide by these standards, we're going to have to let you go. Something I like to do as well is I like to implement a 30-day probationary period so that if for whatever reason they're not comfortable with our environment or we're not comfortable with them, we could go ahead and part ways. There's no pressure. It kind of gets rid of all of that entire pressure when a candidate is starting a new job. Step 6 is now going to be training, okay? before we go ahead and actually implement having that assistant work within our ecosystem, we want to train them on the basics. For me, my training comes down to three things. Number one, it's going to be our philosophy. What is our philosophy as a company? What are our mission values, our core statements? What do we believe in long term? What are our goals? If we are a company that likes to show up on time and we are super professional and we have attention to detail, these are all part of our core philosophies that we want to integrate into that assistant. Step two are going to be our playbooks on being an executive assistant, our playbooks on real estate if we're training for the real estate industry, our playbooks on AI if we're going to be staffing them for being AI operators. We want to give them all the playbooks and everything they need, from email to calendar to CRM management to marketing to design. All of these playbooks have to go during this process. And the third part of the entire training process is going to come down to performance. We're actually going to teach them how to shadow. We're going to teach them how to develop standard operating procedures, SOPs, and we're going to teach them how to actually measure their daily results. A really good assistant knows how to track their output and they know how they actually perform when it comes to the day-to-day. If they don't know what their actual result is that they're aiming for, then they just kind of go ahead, clock in, clock out. But no, we want to tell them, here's the output we're measuring your performance for, and we want you to measure it for us and tell us what it is every single day. If at that point they complete the entire training process, then we're going to get into step number 7. During step number 7, we call it certification. And yes, it's great that they've gone through this entire onboarding process and they've gone through the expectations and they signed the contract and they've gone through all this training. But if we can't certify them, then we're not 100% sure that they're actually qualified for the role. During the certification process, we have several exams that we make them take to certify them and make sure that they are a qualified assistant for our clients. Number 1, we make sure that we go out of our way to certify them verbally. So we want to go ahead and have a verbal conversation with them, and we want to test them to make sure that they know what they're talking about. Number 2, we do a written examination. This is a written examination where they have to actually answer questions and write them out and type them out into the computer while one of our exam people actually go ahead and qualify them to make sure they're doing what they're doing. The third one is actual quizzes. Think like the SATs, but the assistant version. We want to make sure that they go through that entire process as well. And then here's a cool one. We make them rewatch the entire movie of Devil Wears Prada from start to finish. We want them to understand why Anne Hathaway was such a bad assistant in the beginning and how she transformed for Meryl Streep towards the end. That transformation is what we're looking for. We want them to really adapt to work within any single situation. And if they have that mentality that I will do whatever it takes to be a really good executive assistant, they are going to thrive. From there, if they get certified, what that basically tells us is they have what it takes to go out there and serve in that role. But here's an issue. They still can't read your mind, which gets me into step number 8. When it comes to step number 8, this is shadowing. We now want the executive assistant to shadow you during your day-to-day to actually understand what you're doing. The way that you like to do something is going to be very different from the way that someone else likes to do it. And for example, if you say, hey, come in here and manage my emails, and you like to manage them in a certain way, they're not going to do it up to your standards. So the only way to solve for this problem is for them to shadow you for the first couple of weeks. They can shadow you on Zoom. If you're on the go, and like I said, you don't have enough time, you could go ahead and record videos and then send them to that person to go ahead and let them know what they're doing. The goal is you need to let them into your life. You need to let them into your life in a way where they could get access to what you're doing. They could visually see it. You want them to be a fly in the wall. Once again, if we go back to the whole Karate Kid, the Mr. Miyagi wax on, wax off, that's what we're doing during the shadowing period. And maybe a little bit annoying just having this person follow you around and all of that stuff. But trust me, that is the best way that humans learn. Step 9 is going to be SOP, standard operating procedures. So if they're shadowing you correctly, what we tell the assistant to do is actually record you doing whatever task you're doing throughout the day. And then if you take that task and you put it into, there's a really cool software called AI. What we tell the assistant to do is actually record you doing whatever task you're doing throughout the day. And then if you take that task and you put it into, there's a really cool software called AI, it'll automatically create an entire SOP for you. So you don't have to go into a Google Drive. You don't have to open up a Word document. You don't have to go ahead and type this thing out from scratch. You just drop that recording into AI, and their AI will go ahead and convert that entire video into a step-for-step playbook on how to do anything. You can then go ahead and organize this entire playbook into a nice library, and then once you have that library, you are set. The only thing you have to do from here is now step 10, which is delegation. Once you have all these SOPs in place, let's say you have 10, 15, 20 SOPs for whatever you're doing throughout the day, you need to identify what is the best use of your time. So anything that you want to keep doing, you're going to hold on to. Those 2 or 3 high income producing producing activities. Everything else needs to be delegated. But before we delegate it to an assistant, we need to train them on doing it to your standards. Once again, we've done the general training. Now this is going to be the specialized training. We take those SOPs, you sit down with your assistant, and then you walk them through, here's exactly how I like to do it. Here's the exact process. And I want to make sure you've gone through the entire playbook. You listened to the recording. You've seen everything over there. That's good. But do you have any questions on how I do it this way? And that process shouldn't take that long. You could go ahead and knock all of this out within 1 or 2 days. But once you do this correctly, there's gonna be 2 things that happen. Number 1, they're doing your exact task the way you like for it to be done based on your SOP. And number 2, you're setting up a system so that if you ever want to change things in the future, it's super easy. You log into Goldie, you open up the SOP, you tweak it whatever you want. This allows your entire SOP playbook to be updated as you grow as a company or as an individual. That is the entire delegation process. Once you go ahead and train them on this, you just hand it off to that person. And remember, it's not their goal to do it 100% as good as you. If they can do it 80% as good as you, it's better than you doing it 100% yourself. That is our entire delegation and our guide to hiring your first assistant. And if your goal is to hire your first assistant in the next 30 days and you don't want to go through this entire process for you and you want to work with a company that specializes in doing this all for you, you don't have to lift a finger. We will literally do the entire process from start to finish, including helping you build your systems and your SOPs. Just go ahead and go to goldbarstaffing.com or comment staff, STAFF, and I'll have someone on my team reach out to you to assist.